Chapter 16. At the bakery.
Get out of my kitchen,
shouted Damara at Greywind.
I thought I told you never to come back here.
Greywind cringed. The kitchen was hot. Not just from its southerly location, but because the ovens were all fired and nearly ready for baking. Damara wore a flour-dusted tunic and apron. Her brown hair pulled into a tight bun with pins shaped like sheaves of wheat, the symbol of her goddess, Grania. A kerchief further kept stray hairs from distracting her from her work. She pounded dough on a work surface and glared meaningfully at Greywind.
It's good to see you too,
said Greywind. He perched on the corner of a table and watched her sling and weave dough into a complicated loaf.
You know, there are easier ways if you just want a muffin.
He fished out a small loaf from his shirt and began nibbling on it. She squinted her eyes at him.
Filched from the market? I'll tell Amaranth you owe her for that.
Greywind looked put out. Damara slapped the loaves onto a wide flat board, flung open the door to a roaring oven, shoved the board in, letting the loaves slide onto the heated stone, then slammed the door closed again.
It's a devotion,
she growled at him.
Assuming, of course, you haven't gone and offed my goddess. Is that what you've come here to tell me? She's next on your hit list.
Greywind shook his head quickly.
Oh, no. Not at all. I'd never even think of it.
Never think of telling me? Because I know your agenda is to get rid of them all.
She slung some of her tools into various wash basins.
Well, you see, that's the complicated thing about agendas,
said Greywind, having another nibble from his muffin.
It's hard to get everyone to agree on one.
Which is why I'm here, and not there, and why I said I never wanted to see any of you lot again,
said Damara, pointedly. Greywind shrugged.
I really don't have much of an agenda at all.
He gestured theatrically.
I just want everyone to get along. It makes life so much easier.
So you can just keep filching what you fancy and taking responsibility for nothing.
Precisely,
said Greywind triumphantly.
But everyone's so serious these days. What with this condensed sleep, sobriety pills, and whatnot, there's hardly any vices left to enjoy at all.
He took another bite.
That doesn't explain why you're here bothering me,
she said, looking, with intent, at the shelves he was sitting in front of.
I'm getting to that,
he said, standing up so she could reach past.
It seems we're set to enter another brouhaha over reincarnation, divine servitude, or eternal life.
Working yourselves up to killing a few more gods?
She asked, shaking her head and pulling out some more ingredients.
I think everyone's gone a bit too far,
said Greywind.
Dev wanting to go back to the old ways, Moss wanting to make heaven on earth, and just about everyone wanting to kill all the gods.
Sounds like nothing has changed,
quipped Damara.
So Devonshire sent you here to convince me, a conservative, to back her pushing some sort of metaphysical reset button.
Well, she didn't. Not exactly. I would never presume,
sputtered Greywind.
Okay, yes. Yes, she did.
Damara put her hands on her hips.
You know the answer is no, which is why you're blathering on about other stuff.
Greywind looked put out.
Dev's heart is in the right place. But she hasn't got a killer argument, so she's not going to win that way.
So you're trying to convince me to go the other way to make her give up quickly?
Asked Damara.
No. I'm just, wondering if we need to actually kill all those gods at all.
Damara raised her eyebrow.
Let's say we do things Moss's way, cure old age through magic. Make heaven on earth, let people use the mana they can generate rather than letting some deity use it for them. It's not like we need the gods out of the way to do that.
Damara raised her other eyebrow.
Even better, we could do it all in collaboration with the gods. Get them to come forward. Embrace the agenda. Join us instead of fighting us. They can be seen as the primary agents for ringing in heaven on earth, etc.
I'm still not seeing where I come into this demented scheme,
said Damara.
Well, such an agreement would have to be brokered. And, well, the gods aren't exactly in a talkative mood with most of us right now.
Greywind shrugged.
So it struck me that you are in the position of the perfect negotiator.
Damara rolled her eyes.
Don't get me wrong,
She said, holding up her hands.
I'm a big fan of hubris. Where would all our great tragedies be without it? But don't you think this is going a bit far?
Well, as you keep repeating, we've already killed a few. The rest have disengaged.
He paused.
Given time, and if we ever come to agreement, we can probably continue to pick them off as they get in the way. Now, we probably couldn't stand up to a unified onslaught of all the remaining gods working together against us.
He smiled at her.
But what do you think the chances of that are?
Damara looked at him sourly.
Given they represent the best and worst of humanity, it's no wonder they're dysfunctional. Why me though? Surely you perceive yourself to be in a position of strength. Why not just strong-arm them into it?
You know the gods better than any of us,
said Greywind.
You're on a first-name basis with a number of them. Facilitated a few engagements. In the past. You could get your foot in the door. Feed them a few of your famous crescent rolls. Get them in a listening mood.
She continued to look highly skeptical.
Besides, this is really just my own little agenda. I couldn't strong-arm a fairy myself.
So let me get this right,
said Damara, emphasizing her points with a wooden spoon.
Dev sent you here to try to talk me into her agenda, so I could talk the others out of their agenda. But you're ignoring all of that because you've got a completely different agenda that you want me to spearhead all by myself.
Yes,
said Greywind, popping the last of the muffin in his mouth.
In a nutshell.
Damara shook her head.
It's insane. It's all insane.
Well, at least you would get to pick your own form of insanity,
countered Greywind.
All I ever wanted to be was a simple priestess,
she said wistfully.
I just wanted to be a simple miscreant,
said Greywind.
Look at me now. Trying to save the world. My mother would weep.
Damn Sinai for starting all of this,
swore Damara.
He's beyond either damnation or salvation now,
said Greywind somberly.
No magic in the multiverse can get him back.
More's the pity,
said Damara.
I'd be first in line to slap him for this.
Now that's the attitude I'd expect from the only person to talk back to a grey elf,
said Greywind. Damara smiled dryly.
Not like there wasn't payback.
But it didn't stop you talking back to all and sundry, eh?
No, it didn't,
agreed Damara.
No, it didn't.
So you'll do it?
Greywind asked tentatively.
Leave it with me,
said Damara, staring out over the kitchen. Greywind leaned against the counter for a bit.
Sorry, one gets used to elfish with 18 different conjugations. Was that leave it with me as in shut up and get out of my kitchen or I'm on it or?
Damara looked up at him sardonically.
That was leave it with me as in leave it with me. Go about your business. I'll think about it. I may do something. I may do nothing. Or I may pass it on to someone else who I think can do something. After all, if I'm the only one who can implement your agenda, then it's all up to me anyway,
said Greywind. He bent low, kissed her hand, palmed a crescent roll, and swept from the room.